Policy alone is not a privacy program. Regulators want evidence of training, governance, metrics, and privacy impact assessments, PIA. Leadership should invest in scalable privacy operations and ensure regular reporting to executives and the board. Operationalizing privacy from a policy to a practical. Most organizations today are privacy aware. Far fewer are privacy operational. Operationalizing privacy means moving from legal interpretation to business execution. Static policies to repeatable processes. Individual expertise, institutional capability. A mature privacy is not something teams remember to do. Or at maturity, privacy is not something teams remember to do. It is something systems, workflows, and incentives force to happen, make happen. What operationalizing privacy really means. Operationalizing privacy is the discipline of embedding privacy requirements into product designs, data architecture, vendor management, security controls, business workflows, decision-making authority. It answers the executive question, how do we make the right privacy outcome the default and at scale? Why privacy fails in practice. Despite strong legal frameworks, privacy often breaks down because legal and privacy teams sit outside operational decision-making. Requirements are communicated as rules, not workflows. Business teams are asked to consider privacy without tools and oftentimes without knowledge. Accountability is diffused and informal. Success metrics reward speed and growth, not compliance quality. Executives should recognize privacy failures are rarely caused by ignorance of the law. They are caused by misaligned operating models. Core pillars of privacy operations. Clear decision rights. Operational privacy requires clarity on who approves the new data use, who can accept residual risk, who can block a launch, who owns remediation. Mature organizations eliminate ambiguity by defining privacy sign-off thresholds, aligning approval authority with risk, making escalation paths explicit and clear. Privacy without authority is advisory. Advisory privacy fails under pressure. Remember that. Right? Embedded privacy by design. Privacy cannot be bolted on post-launch. Operational reality includes mandatory privacy reviews at defined SDLC stages, right? Design checklists tied to actual system behavior, default data minimization, purpose limitation enforced in architecture. This is not about slowing innovation. It is about preventing rework, regulatory exposure, and public failure. Data lifecycle integration. Privacy becomes operational when it governs the entire data lifecycle. Collection usage, sharing, storage, retention, deletion. This requires data mapping that reflects reality, not theory. Retention logic built into systems. Deletion that actually propagates across the environment. Legal holds that pause, not break, deletion workflows. And if privacy stops at collection, it is not operational. Vendor and third-party controls. In practice, most personal data risk sits within vendors. Operational privacy requires intake processes that assess vendor data before onboarding. Contractual controls that map to real processing. Outgoing monitoring, not one-at-a-time diligence, or a checklist. Clear on offboarding the data, return, destruction procedures. Executives should assume regulators will treat vendor failures as your failures. Automation where it matters. Manual privacy processes do not scale. Operational programs automate. Operational programs automate data subject requests, intake and fulfillment, retention and deletion, transfer assessments, risk scoring and escalation, and evidence collection for audits. The goal is not to automate for its own sake, but to get consistency, defensibility, and speed. Measuring privacy maturity. Instead of asking, are we compliant, ask how many launches required remediation due to privacy gaps. How often are privacy risks identified after deployment? How long does it take to fulfill a data subject request end to end? Can we demonstrate deletion, not just policy? Can we show regulators how decisions were made? Operational privacy is measurable. If it isn't measurable, it isn't real. Cultural alignment. Even the best frameworks fail without cultural reinforcement. High-performance organizations treat data privacy as a quality signal. Reward teams that surface risk early. Normalize asking, should we, alongside can we? Avoid framing privacy as a legal obstruction. Executives set the tone. When leadership cuts corners, the organization follows. So the C-levels, remember, you're the cultural center of the org. Common anti-patterns to avoid. Privacy teams acting as document reviewers only. One-time DPIAs with no follow-through. Retention policies with no deletion capability. Vendor assessments that never trigger actions. Privacy training disconnected from daily work. These create the illusion of compliance without operational resilience. Strategic executive takeaways. Operational privacy is a business capability, not a legal deliverable. Authority, not awareness, determines outcomes. Privacy must have real decision power. Systems enforce behavior better than policies. Design for compliance. Don't rely on memory. Execution is the new compliance frontier. Regulators increasingly assess how privacy works, not just what you say. If privacy only lives in documents, it does not live at all.